Todd Leary. How's it going, man? How was your weekend?
Well, it's going good. I mean, there's probably some better ways to start your week off, but I appreciate the intro.
Do you have a little tan?
I played golf this weekend. It wasn't super sunny, but I did play some golf. I've been
Looking
out a little
like
bit.
Yeah.
I always tell
Good.
everybody it's my blood pressure.
Yeah. Boy, don't talk to me
get
about
older,
that, boy.
As we get older.
Yeah, that's not even funny. No.
Yeah.
But I tell you, somebody who was busy all weekend, I went to the Kentucky Derby to catch that. We had a hell of a NASCAR race on Sunday. But AAU, the guys were in action from Indiana Elite, and they had a 5-game swing down in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was a great run for that crew as they go 5-0, now 12-0 on the series play this summer so far. But it's the same 3 guys in Brillan Mullins, Trent Sisley, and Malachi Moreno who continue to lead the way, and it's not the same one every time. That's the great thing about that. They have switched. You start off on the first game on Friday. Brillan Mullins leads all scores with 28 points, 6 of 10 behind the 3-point line, by the way. But Trent Sisley has 22. Malachi has a double-double. And then Malachi Moreno ends the weekend with 30 and 10. And Trent Sisley with another double-double, 14 and 13. So a great weekend for those guys.
Yeah, that's a for an AAU team. If you want to catch some good basketball, high school / college age kids, super highly rated kids that play well together, that team is fun to watch. So I don't enjoy a lot of AAU basketball because some of the teams are just so selfish, but that's definitely not the case with that team. And I know that they're headlined by those 3 players, and rightfully so. They are the 3 most touted players on the team, but they've got some great guards. They got some really good guys that come in off the bench. Mark Zachary, I'm telling you what, he's the most underrated. I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't hear people talk about him very much.
As a basketball player, he's underrated because he's looked at as a football player.
I'm telling you, he's a game changer. He is one of those guys that I'm telling you right now, every single player on his team loves playing with him because he's always in the right position. He always makes the right pass. He's quick as a cat. He is he's just that dude you want on your team. And so the whole team in general, for an AAU team, if you get a chance to go out this summer and watch them play, it's definitely worth the ticket.
Well, you can go see them this weekend in Indianapolis, as they should be. I'm going to assume they're going to be at the Pacers Athletic Center, although there are multiple venues for the event this weekend. I would assume that they would be at the PAC, as I will start calling it.
Yep.
But they were just there a couple weeks ago, and this will be your last time, I think, to get to see them here in the state, as they have the rest of their deals start to move all over.
Yeah, the circuit for them, the level that they play is mostly national and across the country. But we're pretty fortunate to have the Indiana Elite program, obviously based right here out of Indiana and originally started in Bloomington. And Mike Fox, that coaches that team, does a great job with them. All the guys involved with the Indiana Elite program do a really good job with those big time teams, and boy, they bring in some players and they get them to play well together. Like I said, it's a fun team to watch play.
Yeah, and not only that, their goal is to win a championship, which is always a good thing to have. But it's to see these guys continue to get better, and sometimes you don't get that in AAU ball because it's AAU ball,
right?
But they really seem to play with an essence to win the game. And that's why I think that it's not the same guy leading them every time. It's because each game is different.
Yeah, and AAU is, it is different. Teams are, they have different goals, and that's really what it's made up for. The AAU is made up for, it was originally started for these guys not to win championships, but for them to be able to improve their individual game throughout the summertime. And so that when they got to their high school team, they were better players individually. They had improved and that stuff. And, it blossomed into now it's way more highly recruited than college or high school basketball is. And, but there's also layers of it. So when you talk about this Indiana elite team, I mean, there's hundreds of Indiana elite teams across the state. This one is the elite team in that age group. And there are a couple, there's usually one, two, maybe three deep in each age group that are elite teams. And they're a little different. They handle things differently. They're trying to win championships. They are, this Indiana elite team is an AAU based an Adidas based AAU program. And so they're trying to keep their status of, the top Adidas team, or one of the top teams in the country for Adidas. And, Under Armour has that same program, and so does Nike, and I think Puma's trying to establish one now. But this level of team is different because they're all highly recruited. They're all going to have scholarships if that's the route they choose to go. But these guys are a little different. And that's why I said this team's fun to watch, because they're trying to win. They're not just trying to improve as, players individually. They're trying to improve as a team.
Absolutely. Give Chris Jackson a shout out. You're his all-time favorite.
I mean, I super appreciate that, but I hope you're kind of exaggerating that. I mean, there's a lot of people you could have enjoyed watching play more than me, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Also, let's see. Russell says that it's early 2025 recruit Sisley leaning towards. Let me dispel this Iowa thing. Putting up Iowa is because that comes from a site that has Iowa as like leading. That could not be further from the truth. I would put Iowa in maybe the fifth spot right now, easily behind Indiana, Purdue, even Notre Dame, Michigan State. So Iowa is not up there. I don't know why that got put up, but Iowa is not leading. I'll be honest with you. To me, it's Indiana and Purdue.
Yeah, and that's probably pretty accurate. I mean, I would say you see what happens every year now with, I mean, I don't think a year ago we would have all sat here and said Mark Pope would be coaching at Kentucky. So every year there's so many dramatic changes that it's hard to tell what it'll be like a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever. But, Iowa recruits the state of Indiana well. I mean, they appreciate players that come from the state of Indiana and how they're coached, not only through their high schools, but through AAU and that stuff. And so I don't blame them for that. And they always put their name in early. They were in on Tony Perkins, after his freshman year as a sophomore. Like, they get in early on these Indiana guys. And I don't blame them for that. And so to put them in that regard, I probably I'm mostly 99% agree with what you're saying with that. I don't think they're even in that top 3 ranking, but it also wouldn't shock me down the road if that ended up being a place that he picked or put it in his final 3. He has such a great following from his family. Like you and I were at the game, a week or 2 ago or whatever it was. And I mean, it wasn't mom and dad there. It was mom and dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, third cousins. Like, I met people that
cousins and cousins.
I love that. Like, they spend a lot of money to get into those venues. Like, we know what it costs to get in there. It's not cheap. And they're traveling, from the very southern part of Indiana all the way up to Noblesville and Westfield to watch them play. It's a fun group. So to say family's not going to be involved in that decision, I think would be probably a little silly to not think that. But also, he's going to make what decision is best for him. He's an outstanding player. He's only going to get better. He's going to get more physical and big and strong. His shooting is going to improve, although he's already a good shooter. His upside, he's already rated super high, and his upside's gigantic, I think.
Yeah, great weekend this weekend. 22 points, 14 points, led with 13 points. The only game that him and Malachi Moreno did not hit double figures was a game that was a 50-22 game.
Right, yeah. And their first couple of games were huge blowouts. So, that is the time, especially early in those tournaments, that the coaching staff's going to play guys who maybe don't average 25 every game. and that's just the way AAU. That's what AAU's for. Like those, that's what those games are for. But yeah, they're a fun group to watch play for sure.
Yeah, and as far as Malachi goes, yeah, I have no idea, man. He's going to be where he's going. He has got
He's a
a
Kentucky
three-headed
kid.
monster because
Yeah,
he's got Calipari that was at Kentucky
right.
that's now at Arkansas, where he told me he believes he's going to take a visit. Then you've got Kentucky, which is right next door to where he lives and where his mom could come watch him play. And then you've got Indiana, which would make it more difficult for her. So it's going to be interesting to see how that his recruitment turns out.
Yeah, and that dude he's a program changer. I mean, he is
Yeah.
that good. But he's probably also, like, he's so physically matured already. He's probably a one and done, would be my guess. Those things kind of change. But his game is kind of a one and done kind of game. Um, and yeah, I'm sure, like, he's from Georgetown, Kentucky, which is what, like 25 minutes from campus of
Yeah,
of
if
Lexington.
that.
So that's obviously a huge advantage. That's one of the reasons why we give Indiana an advantage in Trent Sisley, because of the proximity and ease to jump up 69 and be right there at the games. Um, but but I mean, it's not the overall determining factor. If he goes somewhere and there's that super comfortable feeling, or in today's world, we can say it, if he goes to Arkansas and they offer him a package that's so big, I mean, they've got unlimited NIL money. I mean, this is almost better than the NBA because there is no salary caps. There are no limits to what you can offer a kid. And we're not talking, the NBA, some of those guys are talking 25-50 million dollars a year. I mean, these guys are talking way less money than that, and it's still a, big time million/billion-dollar industry. So yeah, it's hard to tell. Money's going to factor into a lot of these decisions nowadays. But he appears to be a good kid. I mean, I had a 2-second conversation with him. Speaks very nice. He's very, very nice and a good kid. That's one of those guys I'm rooting for him, and I don't really know him that well, but he seems to be a really good kid.
He's a super, super good kid, as is Trent Sisley you talked about,
Oh, that's
and then Brillan Mullins.
Braylon.
This guy is also going to be. I said in something somewhere I wrote, he reminds me of a young Kyle Guy. I don't know if that's fair to say, but that's kind of what he reminds me of. He's got that long, lanky ability to get a 3-point shot off over top of a lot of guys. But he's not just that, man. He's an athlete. He likes to get to the rim and try to stick it in your face.
Yeah, and he battle, and he likes the battle. Like that's what I got out of him and seeing him in person, versus, especially in high school. You don't get to play as physical in high school games as you do in AAU or especially college. And so watching him play in person, like, I was beyond pleasantly surprised. Like, I enjoyed watching him battle. Like, he liked the physical nature of guys bumping him when he was driving, and he's skinny. He's super skinny, but he's kind of wiry, strong, skinny. He looks like. I feel if you go out to Greenfield, where he's from, half the town's last name is Leary, and I'm related to most of them in some way, shape, or form. My dad's family was all from Greenfield, so I'm related to all those people out there. In some way, I don't know most of them, but I'm related to them. So I feel this
I bet you
connection to
they
him
all know you.
because I spent a lot of time in Greenfield as a young kid growing up. So I mean, I've always kind of considered it not a second home, but I have a tie to it. And so I've followed him since I first started hearing about him a couple of years ago. But getting to see him in person was different. He is he's better than what he's rated at, and I think the ratings are quickly catching up because he's getting more highly rated as things go on. But I think, late in the high school season, late in the college season, he started getting a little bit more publicity. That's going to increase dramatically based on his AAU performance this year so far. And he's going to have every offer that there is. He's that kind of player.
Yeah, and it's going to get busy in the state of Indiana because you've got Indiana, who is recruiting very, very hard. You've got Matt Painter, who recruits the state, obviously very, very hard. Micah Shrewsbury is now
Yep.
getting he's
We've
putting his
seen him
claws into the
everywhere.
state.
We've seen him everywhere.
I guarantee you he's been all over the place, man. And then now you add into the fray Dusty May at Michigan, which you already have Michigan State and Tom Izzo, who has been for years done a good job of doing that. And you mentioned a minute ago Iowa, and they have always come in and found guys, whether it was there's actually been a couple from Newburgh, but the one that went to Iowa, then to Xavier, but then the guy that went to elsewhere to Clemson. There's just so many guys that this state produces every single year. It's crazy, but
and don't think Indiana State and Coach Graves there is not going to, pick up some steam and momentum based on their season that they had. He's going to be a name we're going to talk about. He's a Dusty Mayes type guy that we're going to talk about. I mean, Graves in the state of Indiana. I mean, what they've done at Butler and everywhere, like they're a basketball family. Like he's going to continue that. Evansville's got great coaches. Like the state of Indiana is going to get pounded when it comes to recruiting here.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.